Yes, sir.
Chief Limble, is everything fine with you since everything has changed quite a bit and it's been a long time? I think it's a 4-story complex.
Yeah, their building code, as long as they go by the 18, it's not a lot of difference in 18 to 15 as far as the building.
Do they have
mean-
X number of elevators or,
They just have to have the staircase.
hey, 90-year-old men can't, and women can't get up and down
They
the
still
staircase.
can't go down the elevator if it's on fire in the shaft, so they gotta go down the
I
stairs.
guess we put a pole in and let them slide.
Yeah.
I was just concerned, when you got a complex of senior citizens and you're on the 4th floor, I hope you're
But it's
healthy.
all sprinkled, I mean, the whole building's sprinkled.
Okay, well, that's good, and it's right there by Hamilton Apartments, which they own too, so, and that's a pretty nice thing. It's gonna be a gated community, so keep out who was not intended to be there.
Guess it's a good thing it's coming later. We'll have a ladder truck maybe by the time they get a new one.
It'd be a welcome addition, the complex and the fire truck, both of them. Anyone,
I just hope it gets done pretty quick. Like I said, Mr. Francis, I'd like him to be able to move in one of these days on the 4th floor,
Penthouse. Penthouse.
in-house.
anyone else? Questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
I make a motion to approve case number 1919 SPDR, the Alexander at Terman Farms, to approve the time extension for 1 year for a site plan and design review for a 200-unit residential senior living apartment complex at 1265 Terman Drive by Patrick Carroll and IA Investors LLP, IA Alexander LLC owner.
We have a motion by Alderman Geis. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second by Alderman Bledsoe. Do we have any discussion?
one thing, just leave the.
Alderman Bledsoe.
One thing, just leave the apartment part out of that.
I amend it to be senior living complex.
Thank you, Alderman. Is your second still stand, sir?
Very much so.
Okay. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Roman numeral 6, new business. Letter A is a public hearing, which I now declare open. On that, there's some property that needs cleaning, which has not been done. So this is a request to ask the board to authorize the city or people hired by the city to go in there and do the work. Is there anyone in the audience to speak on any of these properties, either yea or nay? Anybody on the board have any comments?
Mayor,
Alderman Dupree.
that 5722 Chickasaw, it was cut yesterday.
All right, sir. I think in the past, we've always asked Chief Rao, in case it's fixing to, the work is fixing to be done pretty quickly, but this work is already done. Chief, would it be better to leave it on or scratch it off of there?
Yes, sir, we always recommend leaving it on, because if it's gotten to this point, it's on there for a reason, and instead of prolonging the process, if it don't continue to stay cleaned, we won't have to go through the process.
That's because we have the right within a year to go back on these properties without going through all this footwork. Is that all right with you, Alderman?
Oh, yes, sir, Chief, they did cut the grass, but the other stuff is just horrendous around there, trash.
Anyone else have any questions or comments on any of the properties? Mr. Campbell, do you have anything? There being no comments, public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Do we have a motion?
I make the motion,
All right,
resolution.
motion by Alderman Dupree. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second by Alderman Bledsoe. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostick.
Aye.
Alderman Guice.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Motion carries 6 in favor, 1 absent. All right, moving on. Letter B, the resolution to adopt the tax levy for the fiscal year 2022, 2023. Did you have any comments you wanted to make first, Mr. Campbell?
I do not, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody on the board have any questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
I make a motion to adopt the tax levy for fiscal year 2022, 2023.
We have a motion by Alderman Geis. Do we have a
Second.
second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Alderman Dupree. Is there any discussion?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
just so the public knows, there's no tax increase. Is that correct?
No increase in the millage rate. If their taxes do go up, it's because the assessor determined their property was worth more, which is a nice problem to have.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for pointing that out, Alderman. Any more comments or questions? Roll call, please, Ms. Julie.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Guice.
Aye.
Alderman Bostick.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Motion carries 6 in favor, 1 absent. Hey, Mr. TJ. Ms. TJ. Hey, lady. All right. Moving on down, letter C, the adoption of the fiscal year 2023 budget. I think because of workman's compensation changes right quick, there were a few little minor changes there. Mr. Jim, didn't you want to show it to the board?
Yes. I had sent that out, and the public has a copy of the summary budget. Theirs is not highlighted in green, but the revenue does stay the same for the general fund, going from a little over 20 million to next year proposed 24,770,200. The mayor's budget, the alderman budget, court, all remains the same. Finance, planning, all remains the same as from our budget workshops. Police and fire here, you'll see in the summary budget, their personnel services have increased. The way the workman's comp is split, every year the way they do their percentages, we don't know until we actually get numbers from them. We got some true numbers from them Friday. But the percentage split that they did actually increased police and fire and utilities more this year than it has in the past. So that's why the personnel services in police went up, so their budget went up. Fire also went up, and I can show you those numbers in the next set of budget numbers. Street animal control remained the same from our last workshop. Parks and Rec and Parks Tournament remained the same. The difference in making up the workman's comp increase came out of the 901 budget, as I mentioned in the email. And that took the supplies down to $82,150 for next year. The contractual services went down to $2,556,700, and the capital outlay went down to $1,402,982. So again, the bottom line that we've been discussing for several weeks now in our budget workshop remained the same. 24,770,200 in our general fund. The other items in our overall budget, the library, hotel motel tax, our debt service, all those remain the same from our previous budget workshops. And then utility fund, their workman's comp had increased to 31,000, so that made their personnel line item increase, which, looking at the numbers and where we stand year to date, An increase was made in the penalty and interest that is collected in the utilities, and $1,000 was increased in the service connections. We hope with a lot of the developments going on that, and taking place in the city, and the new building sites of all the homes and different industry, that those service connections will be even higher than that. So the overall budget for the whole city is $32,741,200. So that is the changes in the summary budget. And let me show you this is the detailed budget. Don't need to go through each numbers. I'm just going to go to the departments that did change due to workman's comp. The police, the workman's comp highlighted in green there, and you have that in your packet also. It goes to $83,500. Unfortunately, every time workman's comp is really based on our actual personnel, and then it's based on the salaries and the salary levels that the staff are at, and that there are other variables also that go into effect. But a lot of people don't realize workman comp goes up when salaries go up. So same as everything else with PERS and everything else. So fire department also went to $63,850. Again, during the budget workshop, we do have 6 more additional staff coming on halfway through the year, so we had to take into effect those coming on 6 months into the year. So those are the 2 workman's comp there. And as I had mentioned, the facility management was decreased to $47,150. You can see year to date, we're only at $30,000, so we did have room, just projecting that for next year. The postage was decreased back down to $10,000, because year to date, we're only about $7,000 in postage right there, so we had some room to go there. And then road improvements was taken down just a little bit to $228,000. Hopefully, you can see we've spent $214,560 so far this year. I hope as we get the street maintenance program going and we start paving some of these streets, if we start with some of the bad ones, we will not be utilizing this fund, which this fund kind of does a lot of the potholes in the city. And if we start the street maintenance program, as we do that each year, the need for filling potholes will not be there, because we'll have completely paved streets. So hopefully that should be adequate in there, since so far this year we've spent $214,000. So that's the general fund where those differences came up. And as I mentioned, utility, we bumped up the revenue in the penalty and interest to $260,000, because we're almost $250,000 year to date as of last month. And we bumped up the service connections, as I mentioned, to $7,000, since we're already over $6,000, which is what we had budgeted for this year. So, and we're still collecting that. So that, I just wanted to explain the differences there, because that were the changes from our last budget workshop. And as I mentioned, utilities, workman comp went up to $31,000, which should be able to cover that. You can see this past year they were budgeted 10,000, and we've already spent year-to-date 26,410, so that needed to go up also. Try to get our numbers as true as they can be. So you'll see the overall budget is 32,741,200. So I will take an opportunity just for the public's sake here. You can look at these columns here where my cursor is going around. Year to date, we have revenue for our general fund is $20,228,260, and expenses of $83,975. So that's a difference of over $4 million, and just attributed to the staff. You can see this column right here is remaining budget. There's remaining in the expense column over $4 million, which is attributed to the department heads for watching their expenses. They've watched their expenses very well. When you see revenue left is to make budget in revenue is $670,844, and a big difference in what they have saved the city over $4 million in watching their expenses and not utilizing everything in their budget. So that was a great job for the department heads. We're in our last few weeks of the year, and you know, if they would have spent everything in their budget, that would have been another $4 million that would have been going out. So very good.
Thank you, sir. And to echo what Mr. Robinson said, a tremendous thank you to the department heads and to the staff, the city, for being so diligent in their work and so diligent in watching the city's money. Well, it's not the city's money, it's you, the taxpayers' money. It's been hard on them several months, but they have towed the line. And I'm sure everybody on this board and myself really appreciate, and the citizens appreciate them being such watchdogs of the taxpayers' dollars. All right. Is there any questions about the FY 2023 budget, or do we want to have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Young,
I'll make a motion, we accept the budget as presented tonight.
do we have a second? Motion by Alderman Young, second by Alderman Bledsoe. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Yeah, before I place my vote, I just wanted the public to know that my phone number is 662-536-9010, without having to go into any detail, because I'm voting no.
Alderman Guise.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Klein.
Aye. Motion carries, 6 in favor, 1 opposed. Alderman Bostic, will you remind me, I have not been able to get your email to go through. I sent everybody, Mr. Chad gave a very detailed report on their activities last month. We're trying to get all that together. Alderman Geis requested to keep the board members informed, but I could not get yours. I was sending it to aldermanbostic@yahoo.com.
I get them from everybody else. I've gotten them from you before.
Did you get it today?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Well, they kept coming back to me saying not a good address. I just want to make sure I had the right address.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, I didn't get one either.
We'll ask Mr. Daniel to please check into that. Alderman Dupree and Alderman Bostic said they did not get that email. So, did everybody else get it?
Yes, sir.
Good. All right. Motion carries, 6 in favor, 1 opposed. All right, letter D. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
I'd like to move that we accept the request of approval of the School Resource Officer Assistance Agreement in substantially the same form as presented.
We have a motion by Alderman Johnson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Dupree. Do we have any discussion? Quick question. When I was going by Alderman Johnson's school this afternoon, I noticed the sheriff's department was handling the traffic. Are they gonna be handling the traffic in front of all the schools? That's great, and I want to thank the board for providing the funds for that. Not only does it provide the extra protection in our schools, freeing up our officers, and by handling the traffic control, that frees up several more officers every morning and every evening, and that's thanks to the members of this board, and I want to thank you for it.
Mayor,
Alderman Young.
they're also handling all the football games.
Are they?
Absolutely, there's at the Horn Lake football game, there's Lake Cormorant. Their sheriff's department's handling that as well, so it's absolutely been a huge benefit to our city.
Keeps more of our officers over there, and thank you, board members. We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any more comments? Roll call, please, Miss Julie.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Guice.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Letter E, do we have a motion for letter E? What-
Mayor,
Alderman Johnson.
I'd like to move to accept the request of adoption of the resolution approving hazard pay for paramedics and EMT drivers.
Motion by Alderman Johnson, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Young. Is this where they get the $1,000 extra from the state? Okay, Mr. Campbell.
Let's be clear, Mayor, that this money for the EMT won't come from the state. This will come from the city. The funds from the state just cover law enforcement officers and firefighters. But the administration thought it only fair that paramedics also get that premium pay, since they're just as much first responders during COVID as law enforcement and firefighters are.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone have any questions about that or discussions about it? All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Roll call, please, Mr. Robinson.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Guice.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. All right. Number 7, citizens' remarks. Did you have any, Mr. Robinson?
Mayor,
Sir?
I have a question. Normally, after we approve the budget, we make a motion to approve the pay raises. Do we need to do that?
I think it's in the budget.
Well, the motion will still have to be made for the raises, and I expect we'll try to do that at the next meeting, because what we'll usually try to present is a salary schedule that has everybody's new salary listed on it, so there's no confusion as to what those raises are.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I guess we can wait on yours, sir, down to Alderman correspondence. Would that be okay with you? All right. Number 8, Mayor Alderman correspondence. Number 1, I want to thank everybody with the city, from department heads, aldermen, everybody that's employed by the city, for all they do for our citizens. Mr. Drew, I want to thank you for the nice sign over there showing about the Frisbee golf, instead of that tacky old piece of board that's been hanging there for 7 years. Like I told you, it reminds me of the artwork on those Grecian urns. You've got them in that Greek Olympiad pose. Unfortunately, the bad news is the county and the state of Mississippi, everybody in Mississippi lost a good friend. Mr. John Champion passed away, our district attorney. A new district attorney will be appointed by Governor Reeves. Mr. Champion had been a staunch defender of the law and protected the citizens. He believed in criminals serving their term. I saw Senator McClendon's social email. It said one reason DeSoto County is as it is because of the support given by the DA to the law enforcement in our county. So please remember Mr. John Champion and his family in your prayers. Is the funeral to be next week?
This week.
Friday.
Is this Friday? Visitation this Thursday, Friday, the funeral this Friday. Thank y'all in Oxford, Mississippi. I don't know the exact details. All right. Football field, we're talking about the new animal shelter. Mr. Campbell, Mr. Robinson and I went down and met with Superintendent Usselton and the lawyer for the school board. Just told them what we were begging for. They didn't commit one way or the other, but they didn't say no. They were interested very much. And they asked us to come back and go before the Board of Education later on this month. The board was meeting that very afternoon, and they would rather have more information in hand. I think they asked Mr. Robinson to provide, and Alderman Geis would know a lot about this because he's really been a great help and a guiding force on this animal shelter, about the footprint, where it would sit on the football field down by Center Street. And that's the last information I had. Does anyone else have any other additional information? Anybody have any questions? No one? All right. At this time then, discussion of Goodman Road street banners. I think you've seen in there, some of the board members brought up it'd be a great idea, since we have, economy's kind of booming here in Horn Lake, thanks to everybody. Some funds to promote the community, city, the banners that are placed on light poles, especially at the holidays. I think Mr. Robinson got some quotes and some ideas. That was just to get the ball rolling. I haven't had a chance to look at it real close, Mr. Robinson, but the brackets, they cost as much as the banner, don't they?
They do, and we have to assess the use of our existing brackets. We have brackets on poles all the way up and down Goodman Road, and some of them still have some of the rods attached to it. So we'll just have to assess that, and we may not have to have as much expense. But I did want to say, Ms. Kelsey down at Public Works did this legwork, contacted a couple companies, and what I sent out to you earlier today and what you have at your desk is kind of, I was going back and forth with Ms. Gale. I liked the particular ones that come from the Northern Lights display, and was back and forth with her on changing the design up a little bit. And it did change some of the initial prices that Ms. Kelsey got. But those, and I did attach my email also with that, that these will be more of the winter months, could be October to February or November to February, but they say celebrate Horn Lake. So it'll be the cooler months, kind of has the snowflakes on there. But the prices range from, one set is a little over $3,000 for 60 banners. And for 60 banners in different material, it goes up to $8,000, then it goes up to over $10,000. In talking to Ms. Gale, the companies and entities that buy these and leave them up all year long, they typically go with the higher priced ones because they can stay up there 24/7, 365 days a year. But we'll hopefully be changing ours out to have a little variety and add some excitement to Horn Lake. But the vinyl ones, you can see, you could actually buy those 3 times over to be at that higher price for the canvas ones. But I did put the design, what it looks like in your packet there. And we could get, those prices are for 60 banners. We have not ascertained yet whether we'll be able to, how much we will need to get our current brackets usable. But we do have, if you just look at some of the light poles all the way up and down Goodman, we've got brackets where we used to have banners up there, and some still have the rods. So if the board chooses to move forward on that, we can start getting these ordered, and because it will take some design set up and take some time to get those printed and shipped out to us, and then it will take time for Public Works to get that on the schedule to get those put up on all the poles up and down Goodman. We're looking at from Interstate 55 all the way to Horn Lake Road. So hopefully it'll really add some excitement to shoppers going up and down Goodman Road.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I really like the idea of rotating them out. If you left the same banner all year long, people would just tune them out. It wouldn't add anything to a special occasion or a special holiday. Which ones did you say? Celebrate Horn Lake, or which other one, sir?
Yeah, Celebrate Horn Lake. I mean, they're in 3 different colors, and we can get multiple colors to go up and down Goodman Road, so they're not all the same color. I think it's only a $25 or $50 change fee to do that, which is not that much considering, adding a little more color and variety down through there. And, and I said in my email, the other months, the warmer months, spring, we can go with a more generic banner that is not holiday specific, but not a seasonal banner, just something that really promotes Horn Lake down Goodman Road there.
Are you asking the board for them to look it over and let you know the next meeting which design they prefer, or
Unless
are you
they
asking
are,
for a vote tonight?
unless they're ready to move forward, but if
Let's see,
they,
this is September. You'd have to get them up by the 1st of November, right?
No way.
Sir?
There's no way. Can I talk?
Yes, sir, please.
We did this years ago. We bought banners, we stuck them up, and the Parks Part was in charge of them. Somehow we got elected to do it. We didn't have the proper equipment, and before they go close to a pole, they're gonna have to have training. They got a law that you have to have training because they got those power lines and stuff, and energy, and whoever else made us go through training to put the stuff up. And the wind comes and blows, you just don't stick them up, and they stay there. The wind comes, blows them, and we had all kind of trouble. I think we need to go with the higher price ones that last, because the wind's gonna blow them down. And we found them 2 blocks down the road, and some people picked them up and took them home, put them on the wall. So we lost a lot of signs, and I don't know what happened to the rest of the brackets. We had a bracket to go all the way down to 55, all the way to, I think we went to 301 then. We put them on like every other pole or something like that. But this takes a lot of thought. He's gonna have to have somebody do special training from Energy to say, don't get close to this wire because you're gonna die. We didn't know nothing about that. We was hanging them, and we got in kind of deep water about doing it. I didn't think of nothing about it, but anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I wouldn't have known anything about that training as you hadn't mentioned it.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, is this the only quote that we got from Northern Lights, or do we have different quotes from different companies?
we did get some other quotes, and I can pass these through. Their banners were just generic, and not geared towards Horn Lake, and their prices were higher, and I can pass these down there to you. Like their 30 by 60 in just one color was $61. And, you know, the banners, we do have one color, but it's different shades of that same color on these banners. You know, two color is $71. So it is a little bit higher, and they just don't look as good. And to Alderman Bledsoe's comment, I did talk with Miss Gale, and even the vinyl ones do have slits designed to let wind through, so it doesn't catch wind like a sail. And they have the rods, they have kind of updated the technology since we've had them up last. I think the rods that you do see down Goodman Road, the ends were not secured where the banners would just slide right off. Now they do have ways of keeping the banners from just sliding right off of those rods. So they have changed the technology a little bit to help aid in keeping those in place.
I was just curious too, was there anything more local than in Minnesota that could do something around the Mid-South here that could actually help us with the installation of it if we needed to go through that, if there's a company local here in tri-state area that would be able to do this and actually install them for us at a price also?
I don't know, Stephen, Miss Kelsey, we had asked her to look into this, and she contacted some. I'm not for sure if she found anybody local.
We didn't find anybody local. It was all to, when we did a Google search for it, just, that's the main stuff that came up. We didn't find anything, you know, down the street, that was doing anything like this. And, to the point of where you were talking about putting them on the poles with the electric lines and stuff like that, my idea was to not put them on the electrical poles down through there. My idea would be to more like put it on the traffic light fixtures that we have here. So like South Haven does their banners. They have them fixed to their traffic light poles. And so, I mean, we're changing out lights on these traffic light poles all the time, so it's not a big deal for us to be able to do that.
And
I wonder if we would still need, since even if you use those to have training. I think to be on the safe side,
I think it says, cover yourself by having training, that if something happens to one of your people, you've had training, you've been told, here's what to do, here's what not to do. Do we have enough light poles to cover all this? The reason we did it, because at the time, I don't think we had like 3 or 4 lights up and down Goodman Road, so we did every other light or something. I don't know how many we got. And it's gonna be a continuation of a lot of work, because you have a storm tonight, in the morning, you're gonna have to go out and find flags and stuff. And they'll be gone too, because people will borrow them.
I don't know exactly how many lights there are with Goodman Road. I know it's a good many, because Alderman Bostic led the charge to get better lighting on Goodman Road. Do you have a rough idea how many lights there?
You talking about the intersections? It's like 9 intersections, you know, with the street light, traffic light fixtures. That's what we're talking about, installing them onto the traffic light fixtures.
The ones in South Haven are actually lit, though. These are just banners attached to
Yeah, these are just banners.
As I said, it doesn't matter if they're at a light pole or not. I mean, you're not hooking electricity to them.
Right.
Well, Mayor,
Alderman Young?
well, even if we did and just put them on the stop signs or stoplights or whatever, I mean, we wouldn't just have to do it on Goodman Road if we just looked at it that way. You'd put 4 on each corner where the stoplight poles are, like Mr. Fox is talking about. I mean, you could do it on 51. You could do it, you could do every intersection in the city. And if we got the better banners, we may not have to spend as much as you would. You may not need 60. You know, you may only need 50 or whatever it is. But I'm just thinking, I think it would look better personally to be on the light pole, or on the, stuck traffic lights. People would see them there. They're not, you know, a lot of our traffic lights are off the easements anyway. So we don't really want them looking at the signs. We want to pay attention to traffic, or the chief's gonna be real busy, both of them.
We do have brackets on the traffic lights.
Yeah, exactly.
There's actually brackets on the traffic lights, there's some on the wood poles and the metal poles. There's a lot more than you realize if you look down there, down Goodman. We've got probably hundreds of brackets up.
And it took a long time to put all that stuff up, and then one time we got through, it started again, because the bracket would break. They got those bands on it, and to keep the flag on there, we use zip ties. We invented to put on there to keep them, and that didn't do good on a bad stormy night. But they're gonna need probably 20 extra or more, or standby, because some of them gonna rip, some of them gonna be gone, you know, just different things.
Well, I appreciate everyone pointing out the pros and cons. Just to throw my 2 cents in, I think at least some will let people know that it's the holidays. And maybe lift their spirits up a little bit. We don't have to buy enough to cover everything the first year. We can just take the major points and try to help get our citizens to enjoy a special time of year. We don't have to go overboard, and when we get a little extra money, we can always add to it, replace the ones that come up missing. And thanks for pointing that out. I never would have thought about people keeping them. But, so, what we need to ask the board, do y'all want to continue with this? Do you want us to order some signs, banners, excuse me? What, Alderman Johnson,
Mayor, I have a comment.
please.
I'm looking at the banners. I want to be sure that we're all inclusive to everyone. Want to be sure that signs and symbols that may not include others are not displayed. So something like season's greetings, or, you know, I see here joy, love, peace, and season's greetings, just general like that, so we can include everyone.
Yeah, you know, those were kind of generic, and some people could take offense. I mean, that's why
Yes.
the Celebrate Horn Lake with 2 snowflakes on it, shouldn't be offensive to anybody's religion or beliefs around the holiday. That's, but hopefully people will celebrate around the holiday, and let them celebrate in Horn Lake. So we had that thought in mind. So one of the original designs that Miss Kelsey sent had Discover on there, and I had asked her to change it to Celebrate. We could pick a different word if the word Celebrate is offensive, but we tried to keep it pretty
Yeah,
generic.
somebody's gonna find something no matter what we have. We can believe that, but, yes, sir, just wanted to bring it to our attention. Be careful.
Thank you. Alderman Bledsoe.
Steve, they might want to try to call these other cities and see where they got theirs, because every city around here has somewhere. There's no sense inventing a wheel when you can use them and say, oh, that's a lot closer and a lot cheaper.
Yeah, we contacted South Haven. I think one of those is one of the ones that we got referred to that they used.
I think when we did it, everything that came out was up north. And you order them and get them here, it's gonna be Christmas.
That's why I was just asking the board, because I don't know, but it would seem like to me we're kind of in, if the board so desires it, because this topic came up several months ago. If the board so desires it, we're gonna have to get on a stick. We just can't kick it down the road. But we're already into September. Does the board wish to pursue this any further?
Yes.
If, Alderman Geis, did you have a comment? I didn't know whether you would just,
I was saying, I want to pursue it, and to me, it's an actual perfect use of hotel money, of promoting the city. And we need to, in my opinion, we need to do more things like this with that money.
Anyone else have any questions? Alderman Young?
Mr. Box, you said there's how many traffic lights on Goodman Road?
I think we've got about 9
Nine, and all of them have 4.
Intersection.
coming from Interstate Boulevard all the way to Walmart.
You have 9 traffic lights. Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and just make a motion that we purchase enough of those signs that say celebrate. Let's go ahead and get it done and put it on those traffic lights.
Two per intersection, right?
Yeah.
I think we're about to get there, Mayor.
Okay. Do you have a comment, sir?
I do.
Yes, sir.
When we do that, we need to make sure that once we get these up, because it's gonna be a quick
Yeah.
thing, and he's gonna be very busy, that they have, when we call back to get some more, they have the same kind, because they change stuff
Right.
pretty regular. And you call it, and you don't get that same kind, so.
Right.
We probably need to add more as we go anyway, but you need to make sure whoever does the order, and whoever's in charge of this thing, to make sure that we can get the same kind of sign that we have up.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Geis?
Could we make the motion to be up to the amount that Mr. Robinson had mentioned, and that'll cover whatever we need?
All right, there's a motion.
That's fine, sir.
Include
60, yeah, as written, as written.
$3,335.
Well, that's not including the brackets.
Well, we did not get a price on the brackets from them. Since we have brackets, we have to figure out if we still have any remaining rods down there at Public Works to go back on our current bracketing.
Mayor,
Alderman Young?
I would make the recommendation that if we order these, go ahead and order new brackets. Let's just make it easier. You don't replace one tire at a time. Take the old ones down. If we can fix them and use them on our next order, or use them to replace broken ones, fine. If we can't, take them to the scrap yard. We're just wasting because it's just like the mayor and everybody said, Christmas is coming, y'all, and y'all still gotta get my F-150. So, I just say, just include the cost of the brackets for each one, and let's get it did.
So we
Alderman Jones?
amend it to be is it this amount? The second one is brackets, with brackets.
Mayor, while they're thinking, the brackets we have up there, when we did them 20 years ago, some of the holes won't fit certain brackets. That's why they make them that way. They got Chevrolets and Fords and stuff. And they make their brackets so you can, and those poles are cheap.
Right.
They'll bend, and, telling Old
They're
Public
hollow.
Works, they probably might have used them for tomato steaks or something, but I
They're
don't
hollow.
think-
They're not solid. They're hollow in the middle.
Yeah, they're hollow, and they'll bend. It's like you hang your curtains up.
That's why I said just get new ones and just,
That's what, right, just get the new ones to go.
Yeah, I think it'd be safer, and then if you can use them other ones, that'd be fine.
use them later for something else.
Mayor,
Alderman Johnson?
just like Mr. Robinson said, times have changed, technology has changed. Who says those brackets will work? So I'm in agreement with Alderman to go ahead and buy the new
get it done.
brackets.
Get it done.
We have to have a dollar figure on that, or amount?
It's up to the board.
All right, Alderman Geis?
Okay. I would say we're wanting to do the better banners that won't fall apart.
That's fine.
$10,050 plus the expense of the brackets.
Would you
I would amend the motion this way. Let's go ahead and do the better banners. Let's do it not to exceed $22,000 all in. all did. If it needs to be more, they can come back.
That's your motion.
That's my motion.
Do we have a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
All right, second by Alderman Bledsoe. Discussion. Yes, sir.
But the brackets are probably higher than
Right. So that's why I said 22,000. Let's just, I mean, if we need more money, we get a number, we'll come back and give them more money, if we have to.
we do 25 and let it go.
I amend it to 25,000, sir.
Motion is on 25,000. Motion by Alderman Young. The second is still good by Alderman Bledsoe. Is there any more discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Julie.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bostick.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree. Alderman Young.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. All right. Alderman Young, do you have anything for the board, sir?
Just one thing, sir, if I may. American Legion here in Horn Lake this week will have breakfast this Saturday from 8:30 to 10. The public is invited. And after the breakfast at 10:30, we will have the Mississippi Veterans Administration will be in the house to do a seminar on veterans' benefits that they may be eligible for within the state of Mississippi. This is not the federal VA, this is the Mississippi VA. So that'll be going on with the American Legion this week, sir. So this Saturday, y'all come.
Thank you very much, and thank the membership down there for having that program, for all they do for the community. Before I forget, this Friday night, isn't it the Lake Bowl down here in Horn Lake? Eagles versus the Gators. It's the Lake Bowl. Come out and support your football team, please. Alderman Dupree, you have anything, sir?
No, sir, not tonight. Thank you, sir.
Alderman Johnson?
No, sir.
Alderman Bostick?
No, sir.
Alderman Geis?
Yes, sir, just one thing, for the street department. I had a complaint on Redberry, north of Holly Ridge. There's a lot of potholes about halfway down the street. They requested, some patch jobs down through there until we can try to pave it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Bledsoe?
One thing for Public Works, thank you, Steve, for cutting that dead tree that was leaning over the road, on Jonathan. It was a hazard, and you got it cut, and your people are doing a good job cutting back the Johnson grass stuff so you can see around the corner without pulling out in the street. So I really appreciate that.
Alderman Klein?
No, sir.
Chief Rowell, you have anything for the board, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo what you stated earlier, and everybody please keep John Champion and his family in your prayers. He did a lot for law enforcement in my tenure here, and he's going to be sorely missed.
Thank you, sir. Anyone have any questions for Chief Rowell, comments? Mr. Box, do you have anything for the board, sir?
I do not, sir, not tonight.
Anyone have comments, questions for Mr. Box? Chief Limble, you have anything for the board, sir?
I do not, Mayor. I'm good.
Anyone have any comments or questions, Chief Limble? Mr. Coleman, do you have anything for the board? Congratulations on the baptism of your daughter.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. I don't have anything tonight.
Anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Coleman? Mr. Vince, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Board. Mayor, I just had one quick thing. On the Twin Lakes Water Treatment Plant. Just wanted to report to you that we are planning on advertising that probably this week. But I wanted to make sure that, and I don't think we need board action at this time, Billy, but since this project has been approved by the board several times, but I just want to make sure that we don't need authorization to advertise at this point. Okay. So with that, we'll proceed with advertising the project and hopefully open bids, within a month.
You got the gentleman from the newspaper right there fishing the quote you.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Malavasi?
Mayor,
Alderman Dupree?
maybe it should go to Mark. Make sure you put that in there. It's going on where people can see it and know that we're actually working on it.
We're gonna have to pay him. Put it there. Who else said it? Somebody, Alderman Bledsoe.
Vince, what's the thing on Two-Lane Bridge? It's kind of like a ski jump now. It's getting even further and further.
Yeah, I know, we are working on that. I know it's been a while, and we keep saying this, but obviously, the longer we wait to do it, the better the effort's gonna be as far as compaction naturally. But the contractor is in the process of actively getting someone to do that. He's just having a really hard time finding someone to come out here and do that small bit of work, but he has continued to work on it, and we'll continue to pushing it, so I can't tell you, I don't have a date yet.
You think it's gonna be a small amount of work? 'Cause it look like to me they might have to start over.
Well, no, I'm saying that they'll probably have to cut out a section, you know, probably 10-foot section there.
That's the same thing happened years ago when they fixed it and it sunk, then we fixed it and
Yeah,
it's.
that's a totally different problem, really.
Okay.
That was the foundation underneath, it was losing on the end wall. This is just a settlement issue from initial backfill.
Our speeders can't speed, so.
Yeah,
Which is not a bad idea, but it's still irksome to spend all that money and, like
Yeah,
you
but
said.
I'll see if I can get a date, Mayor. I'm sorry, I'll see if I can get a date for you from the contractor. It's just been hard to run somebody down for me.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Bledsoe, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Anybody else have any questions, Mr. Malavasi? Mr. Barr, did you have anything for the board?
Mr. Mayor, I do not for planning tonight.
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Barr? Mr. Robinson, did you have anything?
Yes, I will take, you briefly touched on the Shelter Planners of America proposal that you all received. I had emailed that out and did a printed copy for you, and in hopes that you can look through that, and when you all are ready, we can move forward. I will note just some of the things that came back in his report, and I do want to state that this is a draft proposal. Mr. Mike might be listening online tonight. He said he may, just in case we had some questions, but this is a draft. The true solid numbers are obviously going to come as this is put out. Once we sign with step 3, this is put out to bid with contractors. We'll get true numbers. But you can see number 4 right there, what is proposed from the design schematics that you have. The actual hard construction costs could be anywhere from 3.7 to a little over 5 million for the facility, the hard construction. Then some of the soft costs will add to that, which could take that up to 4.5 to just a little over 6 million. But the actual building itself and the construction would not exceed that 5,042,000. So you have the schematics there on the design. Hopefully you have a chance to look at that. It is from our current facility, this is a castle, the Taj Mahal of animal shelters. The office complex and multi-purpose area for the public to come in. It's going to be a new face of the shelter, and also the cat area is in that front building. And then the massive part in the back is built to hold up to 81 dogs, which we have been up to 90 already this year. And it does have a lot of more functionality with outdoor awnings for them to be outdoors also, and then quarantine areas, new arrivals, a staging area to where they can pull in, similar to Chief Rowell, they pull in, shut the doors and offload prisoners. We can do the same thing with dogs, and as we're getting them out, there's not a risk of them escaping.
Might not be a very politically correct thing to.
I'm not associating dogs and prisoners. I want to make sure that that doesn't get reported, Mr. Mark. But this shaded area is what was just shown up there, the two main buildings. And then, as the mayor mentioned earlier, this is on the site of the DCAC location with DeSoto County Schools. Back here is the old football field, and they have a access way going to that, and has multiple dog yards where the dogs can get out, and exercise yards for them to run and be in the outdoors and be able to be exercised and not kept in pens 24/7. So it is a huge undertaking. You have the pricing there. We will have to do a little redesign because it won't actually fit right up against Center Street. But if the board approves in authorizing that land coming over to the city, Shelter Planners of America will be working on a redesign. Actually, I spoke with Mr. Mike today, and he's doing a redesign to fit in that blue highlighted area that I had sent you before on the city maps, so we can take that to the school board and have a more actual footprint of where it will go on that land. So we hope when the school board meets 2 Thursdays from now that we'll be able to have that design and be able to present that. But that is the draft proposal. Obviously, they can't move forward with step 3 until the board approves that. And then once we get firm numbers, we as the city will be able to go out and move forward with a bond for that amount.
In the budget, didn't you budget 5.1 million for this project? Is that the figure I heard?
Well, no, we had, back in our budget workshops, we had talked about close to a $7.5
That was to include City Hall.
million bond with the City Hall renovations. Obviously, we don't have true numbers for this, and we don't have true numbers for the renovations, but as we move forward, our hopes are to get those numbers, get a bond in place, and we won't start on that bond until 2024. But if we can get the bond in 23, we can start these 2 projects.
Thank you, sir. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Jim? Alderman Geis.
Are you requesting that we make a decision on moving to phase 3 so you can work on looking at bonds?
Well, we can't go with bonds until we have true numbers. So, yeah, we would have to enter into step 3 if the board is choosing to build a new animal shelter.
So we can get hard numbers and be able to make an actual decision.
Correct.
Mr. Campbell, I think.
I was going to inquire, what harder numbers are you thinking you're going to get other than what you have now?
Well, he did want to, was out of the office, so he did want me to emphasize that this is a draft. And they wanted at least another week to see if any of these numbers change. So it is a big range there from, once we get the soft numbers put in there, 4.5 million to a little over 6 million. So it would be nice to know a closer number, and they were wanting another week with the holiday, and I did not realize they closed at noon on Fridays, every Friday, so they didn't have a lot of time to put this together. I do know Mr. Mike will be out of the office from the 15th to the end of the month, but his staff, they were going to start working on that this week and try to get a a new design on a template with the DeSoto County Schools land with that, so we can take to the school board. But he feels he can come up with a little bit more accuracy on the numbers, but, I mean, we could look at a bond that is, not to exceed $6,890,339.
I'm looking at the layout he has here. It looks like, I know we're talking about probably moving this back if we get that land, but I believe that one building, is that does it belong to the school?
No, he's got it laying over the top of the Shriner building. It can't go there. He was thinking that we may be able to, if that was owned by the school, they could let us tear it down, but that's the Shriner building, so it will have to move back closer to the football field.
Yeah,
It's
that was,
Horn Lake Lodge,
yeah.
not Shriners.
Okay, sorry.
If I may, Mr. Robinson told me that you were interested in seeing about the property to the south of it, squaring things up.
Yes, sir.
So I contacted the owner of that property, and they already have a lease purchase agreement with someone else. Where the old Hobbs house is, they had a lease purchase with somebody else, so that's not on the market.
Yes, sir.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Well, if it falls through, then we can do that. But I see on there, it's only got half the football field. Are we not getting the whole football field?
You can see in those GIS maps, we did map out to get the whole football field.
Okay, then you can move everything back, no big deal.
Correct.
That's where it was anyway, was the
We gotta
football
wait and see
field.
what they'll give us. But
Yeah,
Yes,
hopefully they
and
just want to, since they don't use it, donate it to the taxpayers and animals of Horn Lake.
and it says floodway or floodplain.
Part of it's in the flood
Okay.
zone. But I think that, and that's, Mr. Vince, that's the 100-year.
100-year.
I've been there since 1969 when I went to school there. I've never seen it flood back there. When we played football, we wish we had it flood.
I never have either. I got out in 65 and I've never seen flood there. Before I forget, I want to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Mark Randall with the DeSoto Times. We're honored to have the Fourth Estate here with us this evening. And what was the score of that football game between Truman and Hoxie? It slipped my mind just a minute.
Mayor,
Sir,
Mr. Jim, do we have a cost estimate on phase 3 with this group?
Well, you'll see in this contract, on the compensation section, on page 4, he kind of breaks it down there, into the different phases, what the percentage is. And I did send Mr. Billy the contract. We will be contracting with Mr. Mike as the shelter architect. You can see he's got a cost of $140 an hour. So not sure, how many hours. We don't have a true total cost, but you can see that these numbers fall into the soft costs, which would be up to that $6,089,000, pulling in all of those costs in there, because the hard costs are going to be between $3.7 to $5 million for the actual facility. I will mention.
can I interrupt you a moment, please, sir? I think you were going this way, and I think Alderman Geis was going this way, which I'm just guessing if I'm reading your minds right. You were kind of throwing out the possibility of asking the board, or the board making a motion to approve the funds up to a limit. Is that where y'all were going a while ago in y'all's remarks, kind of a side remarks? Don't you
Yeah,
put how much in the budget for both projects? A little over $7 million?
Well, there's nothing in the budget. We removed it for 23 because if
I
we,
mean, it's gonna be in the 24 budget.
yeah, if we take out a bond, our first payment won't be until 24. And I'm not saying that I'm asking for that. They are going to change this design up this week. He said he'd have it to me, which pushes that design back where majority of it is the 100-year flood zone. Mr. Mike and I got into a conversation about, we will have to build that up. And I've been sending these email correspondence also to Mr. Billy and Mr. Vince, like Vince's input, because that, Mr. Mike did say that, when they go to elevating sites, it is going to add cost to that. Mr. Vince would probably have a better idea of what we're going to be required to do in that 100-year floodplain. At that site. The other component that I don't know that is in here, but when we had our last Zoom meeting, he said it was not in the initial cost, but we told him that he needed to add the generator, which was going to add $100,000. I forgot to ask him that when I had him on the phone today, but we do want to make sure that there is a generator when this is built. We've had at least 2 occasions where animal control has lost complete power this year. And we do want this construction site to have a backup generator that'll kick on. So I do want to make sure that that is in there. And then I'm not for sure what kind of costs we're looking at when we push the whole building site back into that 100-year flood zone, because majority of that whole building will be in that 100-year zone.
Well, I would just like to say, number one, thank y'all for everything y'all done to follow up on this. Number one, I do not know, and I need to find out about utilities going down there. As I've said before the board, back in Alderman Bledsoe's days, decades and decades ago, there was the concession stand, football field had the power, bathrooms. I don't know what all of that is left. And number two, we are not wedded to this site. I just suggested that it might be something we would come out, a good site, not having to spend a lot of money to purchase it, since we don't really have city land that's suitable for it. And I will be happy to go down and beg the school board for this property if it's something that we can use and build on. But I don't want to do that unless the board has every intention of following through on this. If the board is not committed to building a new animal shelter, then it's just a waste of the school board's time, your time, the staff's time, and my time. Is there anybody that's opposed to a new animal shelter as been discussed tonight and in previous board meetings? So I take that as full steam ahead with the school board? Is that the correct thing?
Mayor?
Sir?
I was wanting to suggest, could we possibly use Wooten Park? If it's going to be the Taj Mahal of animal shelters, then we can renovate Wooten, and it has power already over there.
That's a great idea, but the preliminary map from the Corps of Engineers showed that as either I always get them mixed up, Mr. Vince, detention or retention area.
Detention.
All right. That's their preliminary map, is to take that land and dig it all out so it would hold water from Calpine Creek. But that is a great idea. Alderman Bledsoe.
And one thing.
Might be too close to residential.
That is a park. You can't do away with a park. We tried that once before with Tom.
You told me that.
So it's a park from now on. They won't let us do away with it. We tried.
Alderman Klein.
Well, I'm just wondering, would it be feasible to see what it's going to run to bring this land up
be usable before you go ask for it.
You have to ask,
Because,
because
if you're hauling a lot of dirt and stuff in there, I would think that's gonna kick the cost way up, and it might be more feasible to go buy some property somewhere else.
you know, we've got a place we can dig it out and haul it, but that's the good, how much is it gonna cost?
Yes.
I had the impression from Superintendent Usleton, he wanted us back down there toward the end of September. Is that the impression you had?
Yeah, I believe Thursday, the 22nd is their next meeting. And, I mean, Vince may be able to speak to this, but I believe you have to, if you elevate a place on the same location, you have to create a space for it to go, a detention area. And if so, on back there behind the football field, up from that current pond, it would be a great detention area, but I'm not the engineer. Don't know if that's a requirement.
Alderman Geis.
I guess, you know, we could proceed to the next phase, and even if we have to get land somewhere else, we still have our design for our shelter, I would think.
Are you talking about making a motion tonight?
Yes, sir. Just to go to the next phase.
Do you have something, Mr. Booth?
I was gonna say, the next phase with, the planners is design of the shelter, right? And so they're gonna wanna get paid 8.5% of whatever the construction cost is, which is gonna be a big number. So once you start down that road, you've gotta have money to pay them, which is where the bond issue comes in. So I don't know that there's any reason to go to the next phase until you get a solid opinion of probable cost from them, to include whatever the city engineer may say with respect to fill in the floodplain and whatever else needs to be paid for out there, and then go borrow your money so that then you can pay them for their engineering design of the shelter.
Thank you, sir. And if we paid them for the plans, do you have to use them to build it?
Well, we've just paid them for what has been invoiced for step 1 and step 2, but yeah, as Billy mentioned, number 1 there on page 4 does talk about their 8.5% fee, and they are working on getting some truer numbers, and he was hoping to do that later this week when he moves that design back. And I'm hoping to get Mr. Vince involved to, because I wanted to have more things prepared for the school board when this design gets put inside that, the blue highlighted area. It'll be more presentable for the school board to see where on their current site that would be located. And then hopefully we get some more engineering numbers.
Like I say, this is just a proposal. We all want, like I said, a Taj Mahal, but, you know, we gotta live within our means. I think Hernandez is planning on building one, what, less than $1 million? Alderman Bledsoe.
Vince, that says floodway. Floodway, do you have to build 2 feet above flood stage if you put something there?
Yeah, actually, they're placing that building is in the floodplain, which you can build in, but you just have to build it up 2 feet above the base flood elevation, so they're gonna have to build that up at least 2 feet out there as a minimum.
Because I see here it says floodway. It don't say floodplain.
No, they cannot build in the floodway unless, like they do what Mr. Jim mentioned, I think, and that's mitigate another area. So if they fill in the floodway, they've got to open it up somewhere else.
Okay, that's the ditch. It runs back there.
Yeah, that brown area is the floodway way in the back there. We're looking at the red area. And then the yellow area, here you go, Vince, is the 500-year plain. So we're not looking at doing anything back in that brown floodway area.
Alderman Bledsoe.
And Vince, right there on the top back here, you know, we're gonna build here, well, you can take your dirt out here and move it up here and make that your retention pond. And that way, it won't cost you nothing for dirt. You got it.
Yeah, if it
it's got-
balances out that way.
Yeah.
It may not require that much detention.
Alderman Geis.
Do we need to even make a motion for him to get the prices and an estimate on a bond and all that
I
stuff?
don't think so. I think we can, from listening to Jim, I think we're expecting these folks to come back with a better number than what they've given you now as far as a range, and then maybe, have Vince look at it from a field standpoint and utilities, if we need to add in some costs for utilities, and then you can get a number, and then you can take that number to your bond consultant, and he can start the process, of issuing a bond.
Okay.
When that gets far enough down the road, then you can hire your phase 3 planners to, start designing your shelter for you.
Makes sense.
Is there any more discussion on this, or y'all ready to move on? I forgot Ms. Linville. Ms. Linville, did you have anything for the board? Oh, by the way, I'm gonna brag on Ms. Linville. We had an issue with workman's comp involving someone used to be associated with the city, and the city was out a couple $1,000+ and she stayed on it and got us the checks back. So thank you very much. Very,
Mayor,
sir.
I had one more question. Is there an update on the status of the audit?
Yes.
Well, hold on just a minute, please. Can we, she was standing up. You mind if she goes ahead and finishes?
Sorry, sir.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let everybody know that the selection has been made for this year's Mayor's Youth Council. We're going to have 19 students. I would like to thank the entire board for their support, especially Alderman Young, Alderman Johnson, Alderman Free, and Alderman Klein. Those are the four that have, that are wanting to be involved and assist with this year's Mayor's Youth Council. It's the first time that I've ever had any aldermen involved in the youth council, so I'm super excited to have them on board. Our first meeting's gonna be on September the 20th, which is the next board meeting. It's gonna be at 5 o'clock. If any of you, all of you are welcome to come to this meeting. I would love for you to meet the students, and introduce you, and then you can go. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting, but it is gonna be at 5 o'clock at 9:20. And then, I do want to mention that we are back and doing our Veterans Breakfast and Program. This year it's going to be Wednesday, November the 9th at 9 a.m. at the Lander Center. So it is a free breakfast and program for everyone, for the public and their families and veterans. So we hope we have good participation this year.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments for Ms. Linville? Alderman Geis.
Yes, sir. Just a question on the status of the audit.
Yeah, I'm passing an email down. I did send out an email to Mr. Brent, which is one of the owners of Fortenberry and Ballard. And I don't know if everybody is aware that, and I don't know that it's official yet, but Mr. David Anglin that has come before you and presented the audit, I do not believe he is with them any longer. He was looking to make a change. Mr. Brent and I, in a previous conversation, they have about 5 or 6 clients that are hanging out there. I was a little disappointed in the response back to me here because it says that David is planning to get me the work papers to review over this weekend. I sent this Thursday. Without going back and pulling up the video that we have, last time Mr. David was here, and my last conversation with Mr. David, I was led to believe that the work papers had been presented to them at least 2 months ago. According to this email, they're just getting the work papers, which you got a draft about 3 months ago. That's when David led me to believe that all of the work papers were before them for the review. So you can see there that I was requesting it for this meeting, he said they would not be able to, it would not be ready for this meeting. And he asked me when the next board meeting was. He has not, I did respond to him about our next board meeting, so I'm hoping, and I need to continually bug him, but hoping that they will have those done. Unfortunately, he said that they have 5 to 6 clients that they should have been done with months ago. And I don't know what what is going on internally with Mr. David, if he is truly still with them or if he has left the company. But apparently it's put 5 or 6 entities in bad shape with getting their audits, because apparently they did not receive all of the work papers for that. So we're continually pushing them to get that complete. I'm a little disappointed in what I've been told and what Miss Marie has been told all along, that this is already complete. It was a little, I guess, deceiving when we get a draft of a complete report that you got several months ago. That draft is pretty much the audit. It typically doesn't change. Last year, the draft changed only in some grammatical errors that we found. But we are still pushing them for that audit completion.
Anything else, Alderman Guys?
No, sir.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right. If there is none, number 12, oh, Mr. Billy, I apologize.
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor.
Then we're ready for executive session. Is there a motion for a closed determination?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
make a motion to go into closed determination.
Motion for a closed determination by Alderman Geis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Dupree. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. If you will excuse us, ladies and gentlemen.
Like it in another.
Thank you, Alderman Klein. Is there a motion to come out of closed determination?
Mayor,
Alderman Bostic.
a motion to come out of closed determination.
Motion by Alderman Bostic, to come out of closed determination. Do we have a second to the motion? Second by Alderman Bledsoe. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Is there a motion to go in executive session?
Mayor,
Alderman Bostic.
make a motion to go into executive session to discuss items A and B.
All right. We have a motion by Alderman Bostic to go into executive session to discuss items A and B. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Alderman Young. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Geis. Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll excuse us. Say any further? Just the one in.
I think the chief might need to stay and protect us.
Mr. Vince,
Yes, sir.
I don't know. Dave's got his. You good, chief?
what about Mr. Box? I know it was street department.
Yeah, we might need Box.
Mr. Box, if y'all would, Chief Rowell, I believe Mr. Campbell wanted to see you just a moment. Mr. Barr, Mr. Drew, Chief Linville, if y'all would like to leave, the board says that's fine. Mr. Francis, you need to stay.
Hey, he been asleep all night. He ain't said a word.
I can sign in and pull it up.
I could've signed for you. I signed for you.
Well, these are probably Daniel's.
He's gonna try to pull.
I haven't gone there yet. It is.
Okay, so I'm just going to vote to approve this resolution. The other language is okay.
Have a motion to come out of executive session?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
I make a motion to come out of executive session.
We have a motion by Alderman Geis to come out of executive session. Do we have a motion for that?
Second.
A second for that motion.
Second.
We have a second by Alderman Klein. Is there any discussion? Mr. Jim, would you do the roll call, please?
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0, passed. All right. Is there any motion to be made from any discussion in executive session?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
make a motion to approve the resolution of the City of Horn Lake, Mississippi, allocating a portion of its ARPA funds to the Horn Lake Creek Basin Interceptor Sewer District.
We have a motion by Alderman Geis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bledsoe. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Before we get started on the second half of our meeting tonight, did we, and don't ask for, I'm not asking for a discussion, did we vote to pay our share of the MPO money? I thought we did, but I wanted to be sure. Well, thank you. All right. I think that there's, Mr. Malavasi, I believe that the members of the board would like to have a discussion with you about projects.
Okay.
We don't have any paperwork on that, do we, Mr. Venn? I mean, not in this,
I didn't have any prepared tonight, but
I'm trying to get it pulled up.
Yeah, I think Jim's trying to pull it up now. I've got it, I do have a hard copy here, Billy. I don't know if this is the only one you had or, okay.
I was being lazy. I didn't want to go through this whole pack.
No problem. Let me just say briefly then that, I'm assuming the amount.
3 million.
Okay. So basically, we have a total project cost available, or potentially of a little over 6 million then now. So what I would recommend at this point would be, and I've talked briefly to Mr. Stephen Box over there about prioritization of projects, and it kind of the same priority that we've had, just not as many projects, obviously. So it looks like 4 water projects, which is all water treatment upgrades at your Holly Hills, Meadowbrook, Hurt Road, and the Twin Lakes. Those 4 projects would get you about 5.2, 5.4, something like that, $1 million, which leaves you about 800,000 or so. My thought originally was to utilize that in the stormwater area of Dunbarton and Nell Road. I mean, those two projects we keep trying to get money for and can't get. I figured this might be a good opportunity to do that because it's just hard to get that kind of money. That being said, the sanitary sewer is in dire need of controls for their lift station. I mean, throughout the city, you can talk to Mr. Box about it, but throughout the city, the control panels are just horrendous as far as operating their lift stations. And so with that said, we could spend that $800,000 on the sewer side of it, which is a call we got to make now because we're having to cut it off here, you know. So do we want to go with the stormwater, which we could probably fall in about the $800,000 range and do that? Or do we want to go with this sanitary sewer upgrade for your lift stations and do that? Now, sanitary sewer, we can probably get money for down the road a lot easier than we can stormwater. I just say that.
May I ask, the stormwater project you're talking about over there along Dunbarton, there's no way we could put it on a list for EWP?
No, sir. That's not really, well, let me back up. You might could if you replace that pipe with just an open ditch, you know, and rip-rap the whole thing. But it's not really a EWP classic project. We have to talk to them about that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And then this project you're talking about with the sewer, that's not the I&I thing they've been talking about.
No, sir.
This is just strictly meters.
This is lift stations.
Lift
Control panels for the lift stations.
That affects people all throughout the city.
Yes, sir.
That's
Mayor,
Board? Alderman Young?
Mr. Malavasi,
Yes, sir.
without flipping a coin, which one would you pick, in your professional opinion, of those two projects?
Your sewer lift stations. I just think that's more of a safety issue and a need right now.
And just to butt in, if I may, I get a report, and we always start getting y'all stuff too. I'm gonna ask each department head, when you fill out, like Mr. Box, when you fill out your report, chief, both chiefs and all, and to also send on the computer your report you give me each month to each one of the aldermen. They've requested, they've said that they really don't get a feel on what's going on in the city. They're not blaming anybody for not doing the job or anything. They were just telling me that they didn't feel like I kept them informed enough of what was going on. So if y'all would send electronically, just like that thing from Mr. Chad, and so they can see once a month what's going on. But Mr. Box gives me a report every week. And it tells me day by day who did what. And it's work on the lift stations every day practically. And they're scattered all over the city. It's not just one. There's a few that seem to rear their heads more often, but it's all over the city. So I know I can't vote, and I mean, if I were able to vote, I would concur with what Mr. Vince said, with Mr. Alderman Young. You hate to short anybody along that street, but that's one street. And every one of you have people that rely on the lift stations. That's the end of my remarks. Anybody else have anything to say? I'll just go down the road then. Alderman Bledsoe.
Okay, what you were saying about the department heads, years ago, that's what, everybody had to write a report at the end of the week or whatever and send it in to you or I can't remember if we sent it to Alderman or not. I had to make out a report every week and send it in. That way, you wouldn't have this somebody not doing what they're supposed to be doing. We had an alderman back then, I hate to call him McElhaney, but anyway, he stayed on top of it, and if he read that thing and if something was wrong, he'd go to the mayor, then he'd go get it corrected. So, I think they need to do it. Even when I went to the conventions, I had to write that gum page, a notebook thing of what I did at the convention. So,
NAP
Thank you,
only
sir. So you can do that with the computers now. When y'all do y'all's report, some of y'all email it to me anyway, just email it to me. And if you don't mind, I'd request that you mail it to each one of the aldermen. That way, everybody gets it at basically the same time. Alderman Klein.
Okay, now, they're gonna have second rounds on this ARPA money. And in case we do come up with additional, when does that second round come?
Well, we're gonna ask for the full 6 million, or match 3 million on the first round. Probably won't get all of it, but I think by the second round, we probably will. But to answer your question, end of October is basically when I think you'll hear back from the first round, and then 6 months from there is when they'll open it up again for application.
Are y'all ready to make a vote on this, or any more discussion? We need a motion.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, that would be helpful, and just so that I can clarify for myself, Vince, are you suggesting that we have a motion for you to apply, I guess, for the first 4 projects on that list, which are all water projects, water treatment upgrade projects for Holly Hills, Meadowbrook, Dirt Road, Twin Lakes, and then a project for the sanitary sewer lift stations?
That's correct. Now, the sanitary sewer lift station is not on this list.
I understand.
Specifically.
Yeah, so that would be the 5th project that's not,
Right.
identified specifically on this list we're looking at.
That's right.
Does anybody have any questions? Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
I make a motion to approve events to proceed with the first 4 projects on his list, and an additional 5th project to involve the sewer lift stations.
We have a motion.
Mayor.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I was just gonna second it.
All right, we have a motion by Alderman Geis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Alderman Dupree? Any discussion? Mr. Robinson, roll call, please.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Do we have any more business for this honorable board? If there is no more business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Mayor, I make the motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Alderman Pree to adjourn. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Alderman Young. Is there any discussion? Mr. Robinson, roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. Darth Daniel back there.